Daniel Sports Central, we go over an NFL game preview and prediction on the wild card round matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The final game of wild card weekend. You got the Dallas Cowboys, a team that took a brutal loss at Washington last week. They lost the game by 20, only scored 6 points in that game. So this team is probably overlooked heading into the playoffs now. This is still a team that's had a great season. They're 12-5 heading into the playoffs, but I definitely think Dallas, regardless of what happened last week, could still definitely be a dark horse in this year's playoffs. But they're taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a team that is 8-9. They got a losing record heading into the playoffs. Most have counted them out by now. But the thing is about the Bucs, this team has got Tom Brady as their quarterback. And there's one thing that we've learned over the years: you can never count out Tom Brady. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this match for you today, starting with your team trends. The Dallas Cowboys once again lost to the Washington Commanders 26-6 in Week 18. Then, Dallas they were playing their starters in that game. That was not a game where they sat their starters. They were still in contention for the number one overall seed. So, they had their starters in that game, and it just was ugly from start to finish. Lost the game by 20 to a Washington team that's not even in the playoffs. So for Dallas, they're still a 5 seed. They're 12-5 heading into the playoffs, but obviously this team has had a couple of disappointing games this season, and definitely that Commanders one was especially one of them. But for the Bucs, they lost to the Atlanta Falcons 17-30. That wasn't a pretty game either for the Bucs, but I don't think the Bucs really played. I think Tom Brady was out for about the entire second half, and so against Atlanta, being a team that's definitely a poor football team, obviously it wasn't a pretty performance. But once again, Bucs had already locked up the 4 seed heading into Week 18, so their game really didn't matter that much. But yeah, they're 8-9 heading into this matchup. They do have a losing record heading into the playoffs, which maybe was unexpected for the Bucs, considering they got Tom Brady and still a talented team. But it just has been a disappointing year, and especially the defense has come back to bite the Bucs this season. So both teams didn't play too well in Week 18, but I do think both teams have got potential to make deep runs in this year's playoffs. Games will be on Monday, January 16th in Tampa, Florida. Kickoff is 8:15 p.m. Eastern. So this is the final game of the wild card weekend. Spread's going with the Cowboys here by 2.5. So Dallas is favored by a couple of points here, despite being at a road game on a Monday night. Over-under is 45.5. The FPI is also going with Dallas here a bit heavier, 69.7%. Series history, Dallas leads at 15-6. The Bucs have won the past 2, and they've won 3 out of the past 10. Dallas does lead the series in the past 10 games, but obviously the Bucs, you could say, have been. Dallas has been good the past couple of years as well, but the Bucs especially have come around since Tom Brady joined the team back in the 2020 season. Stat comparison: Dallas is 4th in points per game, 5th in points allowed. This is a strong team on both sides of the ball, and I'll say this about the Cowboys: this is a team that they have trouble making deep runs in the playoffs. This is a team that can have a great season, but I can't remember the last time that this team was in the Super Bowl. It's been a while. And even in the NFC Championship game, it's just been, this team has had some great seasons. Even last year, they were the 3 seed in the NFC, won the division, and ended up losing to the Niners in the opening round. So, this team needs to get over that hump, and they haven't really played well in the playoffs in previous appearances. But I think this team has got potential to do it. Obviously, this is a potential trap game, you could say, in the wild card round, going up against Tom Brady. Otherwise, an 8-9 Bucs team, you'd probably favor the Cowboys, no problem here. But once again, it's really tough to count out Tom Brady. But this team is 14th in pass yards a game, 9th in rush yards, and then for yards allowed, they're 8th in pass defense, 22nd in rush defense. This team is a strong team when it comes to passing defense, and it's going to need to be that way as you go up against a Buccaneers team that is 2nd in pass yards a game. You got Tom Brady's thrown for nearly 4,700 yards this season, 25 touchdowns. He's still the same Tom Brady when it comes to passing. He's an outstanding passer, but the backfield has been a bit of an issue for the Bucs this season. Leonard Fournette is the lead rusher, but he's only ran for just over 600 yards this season and 3 touchdowns, and that places them as 32nd in rush yards a game. But defensively, this team has shown potential down the stretch. They have been inconsistent. Really, the Bucs in general have just been an inconsistent team this season. You look back to that 49ers loss, 35-7. They haven't had many outstanding wins this season. They haven't been too dominant. They've had a lot of close wins as well. This is a Bucs team that's been poor this season, maybe disappointing as well. But I mean, once again, you can never count out this team as they got Tom Brady as the starting quarterback, and we've learned that time and time again over the course of his career. Recent matchups, Dallas lost the Commanders by 20. They beat the Tennessee Titans 27-13. Had a huge win over the Eagles on Christmas Eve, 40-34. Lost the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are now in the playoffs. Lost them in overtime by 6, and they beat the Houston Texans 27-23. As for the Bucs, they lost the Falcons 17-30. They beat the Panthers by 6, beat the Cardinals in overtime back on Christmas Day, 19-16. That game was ugly, but at least they got the win in the end. They lost the Cincinnati Bengals 23-34, lost the 49ers 35-7. A Brock Purdy-led offense had its way against the Buccaneers that day. Key points, Dallas 12-5. This team has got a high ceiling. I will say that about the Cowboys. I feel like this is a team that very much could make a run for the NFC. I mean, the NFC is much more wide open than the AFC is. I mean, I think in the AFC it's pretty clear who the top 3 teams in the conference are. You got the Cincinnati Bengals, you got the Bills, and you got the Chiefs. As for the NFC, I mean, there are honestly 5 teams in the NFC that could go on and win the conference, and I think the Cowboys are definitely one of them. This team does, and they have definitely disappointed in the playoffs in years past, but I do think this team has got the depth and the talent to definitely at least make a run for it. But, I mean, yeah, this is a great offense when Dak Prescott plays well, and defensively, they tend to play to the competition. That's another thing. You look at several games this season, they haven't had many dominant wins. I mean, of course, you look at that Minnesota Vikings win. That was definitely an exception to that. I mean, Vikings are now a 3 seed in the playoffs, and there's a possibility that we do see the Vikings and the Cowboys play in the divisional round. Something to keep in mind. I think that'd be honestly maybe ideal for Dallas going up against a Minnesota team that is maybe not as good as their record shows. But I mean, once again, yeah, Dallas is still a team that I could see making a run despite what all and everyone says about the Cowboys being a team that always chokes in the playoffs. But they got the talent to make a run. As for the Bucs, this has been a poor season. There's no hiding that. They got an 8-9 record heading into the playoffs, but this team is back in it, and they got a chance at least to make a run. Defensively, they've been poor down the stretch. They've been inconsistent, but once again, Tom Brady is brutal to bet against. We've seen that year in and year out. Tom Brady continues to have success in the playoffs. He's got more experience than anybody when it comes to the playoffs. So it's an interesting matchup for several reasons. But that said, let's get the prediction here for the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Bucs coming up here in the wild card round. In this one, I did pick differently in my NFL playoff predictions, but I'm going to be going with the Bucs in this game, 27-23. If you guys remember my first edition of playoff predictions that came out on Sunday night, I did pick Dallas to win this game, but after looking through this game a bit more, I do want to go with the Bucs to win this one. 27-23 is what I'm predicting here. I just think, despite it being a disappointing season for the Bucs, being 8-9 heading into the playoffs, Tom Brady maybe not having his best year, I just think, I mean, Tom Brady, he just finds a way to win in big games, especially in the playoffs in big-time situations, and last year was an exception to that when they lost the Rams back. But it was just the Rams' year last year. But Buccaneers, this is a team that it's hard for me to bet against them. I know that they haven't had a great season, but Tom Brady has his magic, and he finds a way. And that's honestly one of the main reasons why I'm going with the Bucs to win this game. I think Dallas they've had the better season. They are probably the better team in this matchup. But based on how they played last week as well, if they played better against the Commanders, probably would be picking them to win this matchup. But the way they just laid an egg in that game, couldn't get anything going, they just looked ugly against the Commanders. And heading into this matchup, another road game, third time on the road in the past 3 weeks. I'm gonna go with the Bucs to win this game. I got home on a Monday night, also helps the Buccaneers here, and they get the win by 4. I'm gonna say 55% towards the Bucs. Could easily go either way. Over under is 45.5. I'm taking the over, and the Bucs to cover the spread in the end. But a really intriguing matchup to finish out Wild Card Weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.